Hi, this is BK Black Krishna from manforwars.com, where I'm promoting polite patriotism to help nice ladies and gents teach kids, look, talk, and feel great, and locally discuss and share great online info we all find offline as nice, helpful, respectful people making more and making better places to live. There's a lot of people out there that love YouTube videos and podcasts and so on, and yet don't respect each other enough to discuss that with each other and get sucked more and more into sort of being entertained by people with self-respect who respect them and communicate well when they don't do that with each other. So see manforwars.com for more on that. And on that, this video is called Hollywood Celebrities Bitchin' for Success, Copy Them and Fail with Family, Friends, and Strangers. Because it's very much in style right now for Hollywood and the media to bitch and complain and talk about how messed up and freaked out they are to be successful. And as part of a broader plan by super rich people, globalists, and so on, trying to weaken and control people, and nationalists fighting against that, trying to defend where they live as great people with a great place to live who are happy about it and optimistic about the future, that clash is going on out there. So we're encouraged to act like a bitch or a bitch's bitch who makes more bitches who make more bitches, and that's kind of what's going on in the broader sense of things. And so that's what we've got to fight against, because the number one rule, this is something that guys especially, you guys got to make sure you're cool and other people are cool and where you live is cool. That's how you feel happy. Don't feel bad. I don't know. I don't want that responsibility. No, that's how you feel good. That's why you admire your favorite artists and rock stars and intellectuals and movie heroes, because they all do that. And doing the opposite of that means that you make sure you're not cool, nobody's cool, and where you live isn't cool. And that's what's being encouraged today. It's supposed to act like a bitch who makes more bitches who make more bitches, and then put up with a bitch and then have to make it hard to talk. And that's kind of what the brainwashing is. And there's professional lying bitches in the media and in Hollywood making more bitches who make more bitches who make more bitches out of all of us, who we've got to resist. And that's why I'm making this video. To give you an example, I'm going to show a few articles from one of my favorite news sources, Breitbart News, BreitBart.com, Breitbart News. They do a great job because their founder, Andrew Breitbart, the late great Andrew Breitbart, he had a famous quote, good guy, and he had a famous quote saying, "Politics is downstream from culture." Politics is downstream from culture. So you can't just analyze politics where it's like, well, this political, this legislation, this is bad or whatever. You've got to analyze culture as well, because the political system changes once the culture has changed people to accept different politics and different policies. That's why it's so important. So I'll give you an example here of some Hollywood bitching by somebody who's succeeding in Hollywood, who should be a happy Hollywood person, but instead what's reflected in their public statements is fashionable bitching. Fashionably acting like they're bitching and messed up. Not something that's good for guys or any adults or anybody to do. I mean, even little kids. You tell little kids, don't cry over spilled milk. You got to teach a little 3 or 4-year-old kid, yes, it's not a good thing, you shouldn't do that, but don't cry, spend the rest of your day, the rest of your life messed up by the fact that you spilled some milk and now you're crying and it's the worst thing in the world. And what the establishment is doing is they are making adults who cry over spilled milk, who are shitty for other adults and shitty for kids, and can't really tell kids not to cry over spilled milk and have those kids believe them, because if you're crying over everything, then how the hell can a kid believe you when you say they shouldn't cry? So that's currently what's happening. And so Breitbart News is a great news source to sort of analyze politics and pop culture. And it's a little easier on the old noggin, on the old balls as well, when they mix in some Hollywood stuff with some, oh my God, open borders, these people are coming in, we're not checking them carefully, and they're robbing, raping, and murdering us, so we're not supposed to say anything stuff. If you just go with one or the other, you don't have a good diet, and it can kind of be either heavy on you or not heavy enough for you to lift anything heavy. And so Breitbart does a good job balancing that. So here's an article from Breitbart.com. It says here, Amy Poehler, hard to not have a full-on panic attack every day. And when you get a great news source like Breitbart kind of commenting on this and making fun of it, you can sort of go, wait a second, I don't have to take this woman seriously. Yes, she's a successful Hollywood actress. She was successful and very good and very funny on Saturday Night Live and in movies, but I don't have to take her bitching seriously and her making me think that's a normal and good thing to do. So here's the article and the headline from Breitbart, Amy Poehler, hard to not have a full-on panic attack every day. There it is, and there's a shot of Amy looking a little frazzled in this picture they chose. And it's by Jerome Hudson from April 24th, 2019. And it says here, actress-producer Amy Poehler, the Hillary Clinton supporter, best known for her 7-season stint on Saturday Night Live and a 6-year starring role on the NBC hit comedy Parks and Recreation, lamented in an extensive interview about the strain and stresses of life for a Hollywood star in the era of President Donald Trump. So you might think this is just how she feels, but no, she's a famous Hollywood actress. She's got agents and handlers and PR people and so on around her that are telling her what her public statement should be and what she should say to kind of get credit, especially in a liberal Trump-hating media. So she's saying, the strains and stresses, in the Donald Trump era, it's so horrible. Now, in none of this bitching, because you can have intelligent critiques of President Trump and his policies and so on, or Republicans or the right or conservatives. But this is not about intelligent critiques. This is about talking about how messed up you feel to be successful, and then encouraging other people to talk about how messed up they feel, as opposed to responsible, informed, empowered, and respect-worthy adults. That's not what they're trying to create, and that's not what this is trying to create when she talks about how messed up it is. There's no analysis of why 50, 60 million Americans, or whatever it is, like President Trump. There's no analysis of why they like not him as a billionaire, kind of former TV star, a bit of a pompous ass at times, could also be a cool guy who was liked by Hollywood before he decided to get political and run for office. There's no analysis of what does make America great? Why does that make people happy? What is nationalism? Of feeling proud of where you live and proud of your country, and wanting to be optimistic about the future and keep it that way and improve on it. What's the analysis of that? What's the analysis of lowering taxes for businesses and for individuals so more money flows into the economy, encouraging companies to put more businesses at home and have more buy American, create more American jobs, so more money ultimately flows into the economy, even with lower tax rates, and increases the amount of taxes the government gets back as a whole. This was tried before under President John F. Kennedy as well. You might think, no, we need to pay more in taxes, more in taxes. How else will we pay for schools? How else will we pay for roads? How will we pay for health care? Actually, if you cut taxes on businesses, then they can spend more, they'll borrow more, they'll invest more, they'll hire more people. If you cut taxes on individuals and on families and so on, they'll spend more, they'll go on more vacations, they'll buy more cars, they'll buy bigger houses, and they'll still pay taxes on those. And with more money into the overall economy, even if the percentages that you tax businesses and individuals is lower, the total amount of money taken in by the U.S. Treasury or other Treasury departments around the world is typically higher because there's more money overall. So, whereas when you tax people more and you say, nope, We got to raise taxes on businesses, raise taxes on individuals. Businesses spend less and they invest less and they create fewer jobs. And people spend less and they invest less and they create fewer jobs and there's less money flowing into the economy. So you can jack it up, but that leads to a slowdown in the economy as typically seen. But again, there's no analysis of that sort of thing here. It's just about bitching. And I'll get into more of this article. It says here, quote, "Women have been rightly and righteously furious about this administration and have been working together and bonding together just in an attempt to make sense of all of it," Amy Poehler said to The Hollywood Reporter. There's a link to the Hollywood Reporter story. "Every woman I know has a text chain. Every morning we just say, 'Can you believe this? Can we break this down together so I don't lose my mind? Anybody out there? Because it's really crazy making.'" So she's saying, she's encouraging women. And she says, we have a text chain. They text each other every day. "Can you believe how horrible this is? Can you believe this is so messed up? Can you believe how bad we feel? This is awful." This is not something that's probably actually happening, but this is something that she's encouraging to happen. Now, I'm sure there's some circles where they have to go along with this big bitchy circle jerk, but they're not talking about how so many women are happy under Trump and happy with Trump, and they see him as an archetypical badass billionaire dude trying to save America with a beautiful wife. He had a great life before this. Was playing golf whenever he wanted to, had a huge business empire as a billionaire, gorgeous wife, new young son, plus his other kids and so on. And he says, you know what, I'm going to get political, I'm going to run for president. Great, now everybody hates me. The media used to love me, now they hate me. Hollywood used to love me, now they hate me. Even all these rappers used to say, "I'm the Black Trump, yeah, I'm rich like Black Trump, yeah." Now they hate me. Now everybody hates me, at least of the liberal establishment. They hate me. But he didn't have to do that. He could have just went, screw this, I'm rich, I don't need this crap. But instead, he's being a badass. And so many women love that. And he's a straight up, straight talking dude. He's not one of those nervous kind of, fake feminist, sort of, no, I hate men too, yeah, play with my hair, look at me, touch my face, yeah, oh, yeah, I like a girl too, ugh, gross. A lot of women don't like that, right? And a lot of these fake feminist guys, behind every fake feminist, there's a goddamn rapist, because they're just a sneaky effer. Like in the animal kingdom, as Professor Godside has talked about, there's some animals in the animal kingdom that aren't alpha male enough to get the animal chicks, so they pretend to be chicks just to get close to chicks and then sneak their animal dick into chicks. That's what they do. And that's what the fake feminist guys do as well. You'll have activists that are caught for this. They speak about how sucks, men suck, the patriarchy sucks, white people suck, white men suck. And then the women who are taught to sort of think that, yeah, it's great. You really hate yourself, don't you? You have no self-respect. Oh, that's so cool. And then they get together and they rape the girls because they sneak up on them, as opposed to a man who's like, screw this, I've got self-respect. I'm not into all that crap. I'm not against women. I got to be responsible, a gender responsible man, not gender equal, gender neutral. Everyone's a messed up girl. No, got to make sure I don't act like or put up with messed up girls, and that nobody does. What's the problem? I can fix it, right? That's more of what Trump is like, and so that's why so many women like him. But back to this article. Quote, "I can't watch him speak. It's so upsetting," Poehler said of President Trump, whom she described after his election as everything women should abhor and fear in a male role model. Well, according to millions and millions of others, he's the exact opposite. He's an ideal male role model. He's a badass dude trying to save America, who might be killed like President Kennedy and still wants to do it anyway, who men should respect and women and children should respect. And there's no analysis of that in what she's saying, because that analysis would be critiqued by Breitbart. It could be critiqued elsewhere. It's about how bad she feels. And that's why I say, bitching for success will have you fail with your family and friends and even strangers, because these people are making you act like a bitch who makes more bitches, who makes more bitches, who make more bitches, and then put up with people bitching back at you. And that's what this great big bitchy Hollywood circle jerk is about. It's about brainwashing everyone else. It's not so much about them and how they really feel. And so it says here, Poehler went on record with the reporter about the more than a dozen new film projects she's either starring in, producing, directing, or all of the above. So she's got a dozen new film projects to promote. And she's going to speak with the Hollywood Reporter, a magazine reporting on Hollywood. This is the main thrust of her argument. Now, she says this bitching about President Trump thing to get positive press, because that's what you're supposed to do as part of the liberal professional line, bitches making more bitches who make more bitches out of all of us establishment, to promote the over 12 new Hollywood film projects she's working on. So she's bitching for success. But if you copy that bitching, then you'll act like a bitch with other bitches who nobody can respect. And that's what the broader picture is. She may not even know why she's doing it. She's just told to do it. And she talks with her PR people, other people. Okay, I'm talking to a Hollywood Reporter. What do I have to do? Right? I'm not speaking for her. I don't know her. I don't know she said this. But if she says something in the meeting like, well, you know what? President Trump, did do a pretty good job with the tax breaks and tax cuts and getting more American companies to put more jobs in America instead of sending them all to China. I think maybe, on behalf of my fans out there, the people that like Amy Poehler and that like my TV shows and my movies and so on, I think we should give them a break. Tell him to relax. Try and reach out to a Trump supporter and ask him, why do you like him? And then explain what your concerns are and have a good No! Don't do that. Talk about how messed up you are, how he makes you horrible, and how everyone should feel bad. That's the meeting with Amy Poehler and her PR people. Don't you dare say that. Don't you dare say, let's try and understand each other. Don't you dare say that. You say you're a bitchy mess because he's president. He's been president for over 2 years, and you're still just a messed up, bitchy mess. You say that, and then get into promoting your projects, because that's how you'll get to promote your projects. If you do any of that other shit, bang, blacklist. Bang. We'll shut you down, right? And the reason is the super rich evil people, globalist super rich evil people who want to destroy the West and centrally control the world with their international organizations like the UN, World Trade Organization, International Criminal Court, and so on. They want to take down America and the West, the world role model for freedom and prosperity, not perfect by any means, but the ideas of free speech, First Amendment, defend yourself, Second Amendment, right to against unreasonable search and seizure, Fourth Amendment. Those are things that the world should copy. And instead, they want the world to copy communist, capitalist, hybrid China, which they created to replace the U.S. as the world role model. So, yeah, you get some super rich people with Gucci bags, can't say shit. You get some middle class with, less Gucci bags, can't say shit. You got tons and tons of poor people, can't say shit, right? Giant communist, capitalist controlled hybrid, social credit scores on the internet. Don't say the wrong thing, like the wrong tweet, or gone. We'll cut off your access to the internet, your banking, your travel, your food, your whatever, right? That's the sort of model they want to replace the U.S. with. So that's the issue. And back in this article, it says here, and that's why there's nationalism versus globalism, by the way. It's not an ethnic or race thing, although demographics can be a part of it. You can't say, hey, there's only 5 or 6 million people in Ireland. But if we let in 10 million Japanese people and we, all the Irish people leave because it's not the country they were used to, it'll be the same country. No, it won't be the same country. Demographics play a part in that. Not that you should be not nice to people that are different where you live, but there is a certain cultural character to where you live that you're trying to preserve, and open borders and other policies like that destroy that character. And it's for the super rich people that want to destroy your country, not because some people in there say, we have to be nice and let anybody in and don't be careful about who they are, don't be racist, sexist, phobic, treat people here worse than you treat those people who aren't from here. That's globalism. That's globalist radical left stuff corrupting modern liberalism and them working for super rich evil people that want to destroy their country. That's who nationalists are trying to fight against. So, and it's not even like the West was racist, sexist, phobic, and all that crap anyway, because if it was, you wouldn't have migrants from around the world who continue to immigrate to America, Canada, Australia, Europe, and so on over the last 50 plus years if those places were so horrible to minorities, right? So it's bullshit, but that's what they're trying to sell. When they say everything sucked, everything does suck, to destroy it all, we need to replace it with a new globalist communism in the big picture scheme. That's what this is behind. And that's why you're supposed to bitch instead of really understand. And you're supposed to bitch to each other till you hate each other and you fail with family, friends, and strangers. And that's part of what the thinking behind this type of thinking sold to us by Hollywood and the media is. Back to this article. Elsewhere in this exchange, the Emmy and Golden Globe winner explained why she's teaching her young sons to be aware of their privilege, imploring them to donate their birthday money causes from immigration to climate change. So she's raising her kids to believe in open borders policies, more and more immigration. Don't be careful with it. Don't say anything about it. Doesn't matter if they change the character of your great house party. It's like having a house party with 100 people, and somebody knocks on the door. Hey, can you let these 50 people in? No, we're cool. We've got a nice house party going here. Don't be racist, sexist, phobic. Fine, let them in. Whole house party gets screwed up. Don't be careful about who they are. Don't say anything because they're this, that, or the other background, or you just shouldn't say anything. And then climate change, more bullshit, what the weather might be like in 10, 20 years. They've been wrong for the last 50, 60 years, the people saying that. And there's lots of reasons for that. For example, even Al Gore said in 2007 in his global warming film, An Inconvenient Truth, that if we didn't all take drastic action, Florida would be underwater in 12 years. Well, it's 12 years later. Nothing close to that has happened. And there's something about the news where other news pundits have talked about this. If they want to create a crime wave, they just report on the normal crimes happening more, and they can freak people out into thinking there's a crime wave. If they don't, they just report on the number of crimes happening less. If they want to create a climate change scare wave, they report on normal weather, bad weather more, and they can make everyone think, oh my God, the weather's acting crazy. But no, it's always been, there's been ice ages and tornadoes and this and that. It's always changed. And humans and human activity and carbon dioxide we exhale, which plants inhale, and then put out oxygen for us, it's all part of this mixture called air. That small fraction of what the air composition is has almost nothing to do with what the weather or climate is like. It's just a big joke on us, taking the carbon cycle and making us think that we and human activity, also industrial activity, puts out carbon dioxide as well. But again, plants love it. It's not a pollutant, and it barely affects the weather, if at all, compared to other factors like the sun and so on, and our proximity, the Earth's proximity to it. So she's encouraging her kids to donate their birthday money to immigration, arguably liberal open borders policies, and climate change. And again, this is all part of this. Her saying this to the Hollywood Reporter is part of a PR campaign to say, I'm saying the right things. Hate bitching about Trump, not explaining, not arguing, not intelligent, not informed and empowered, informing and empowering, but just how messed up I am. Oh, it's gross. I can't even, if you say anything, if you even say his name, it's like, hey, I'm a Trump supporter. Can I talk to you? I just want to have a conversation. If you like him, you don't like him, no problem. Can we at least discuss this? No, you can't. You can't. You're a Nazi. You're evil. That's what they make people do to each other, right? Because I'd be happy. People are happy to have discussions, and you could learn from each other. But with this type of brainwashing, you're not supposed to. And then, of course, immigration and climate change. This is what she spoke to her PR people about before talking to the Hollywood Reporter, making sure she hit on these key issues. And if she hits on these key issues, then she will be allowed to promote her dozen film projects and be given a dozen more. So that's why these Hollywood celebrities are bitching for success. But if normal people, Joe and Jane average, copy them, then they will fail, because nobody likes that type of bitching, right? It might be celebrated by the media, but ultimately it isn't something that people actually like. And I've got tons of proof of that at manforwars.com. And a bunch of lying bitches begging to be broken who like being ignored probably want to stop as well, is what my analysis and my investigations in this, in the 3D realm, not just online, but in the 3D real world, not exercise realm, have consistently proven for a couple of years with high definition video, saying something about it or not. That's what they do. So that's what's being created. Now, back to this article. They have to understand their privilege in the world. Again, privilege, white privilege, had it too good. Why? Who says you've had it too good? people who want to take your shit. When people say, no, we had it great and we want to have it better and we want our kids to have it better than us, that's the opposite of these arguments against privilege. That's why she's selling and is being told to sell the privilege arguments. So we feel guilty for having it good, we have it shittier, and our kids have it shittier than us. That's the globalist plan, as opposed to the nationalist plan, which say, nope, we have it good, we want to have it better, and we want our kids to have it even better than us. That's what nationalism versus globalism is from another perspective. So she says here, they have to understand their privilege in the world. They cannot just live in a bubble because truly the world depends on it, the actress explained. We are handing them a world that's on fire. The oceans are rising, the animals are dying, and saying, good luck, kid. Again, generic fear. Generic fear, not informed and empowered explanations, but generic fear. Oceans rising, animals dying. Kid, good luck, kid. We can't say this to them. It's like, what could we have a conversation about this? No, if you disagree with me, I can't talk to you. That's what they're trying to create. And keep in mind, the communists, the communism did the same thing. Communists in communist Russia, communists in communist China, communists in communist Cambodia, communist Cuba, other communist countries do the same thing. They create miserable, lying, bitchy, anti-free speech zombies who can't talk to anyone who disagrees, because if you disagree with a communist, then you're obviously evil, and then they kill hundreds of millions of people. The communists killed 50 million people in Russia when they took over, 60 million people in China, and they killed all the nice, smart, happy, helpful people, successful people there, because they were taught to be miserable and say it was their fault, these nice, happy people's fault. If these nice, happy people who just wanted to have a conversation with you didn't agree, then they must be evil and they deserve to be killed. So the same version of that is happening now with identity politics and so on, right? Some degree economics as well, but certainly identity politics. So it says here, Poehler, who got her showbiz start on the New York City improv scene, doesn't suffer social media, particularly Twitter, a description of the platform for which she is receiving near universal praise. And this is where I kind of agree with her. So she says something smart in terms of her critique of Twitter, where there's a bunch of snarky, bitchy blurts to nobody or everybody, and then people act like snarky bitches offline. And it's not a real conversation to have a little, this is what I feel. This is my little bitch, snarky, bitchy blurt. It's not like you're having good conversations with people where if they get in their feelings about something, say in a real life conversation, your friend says to you, I'm a snarky, bitchy mess about something. And then it's 140 characters, them talking to you in real life. And then you can say, well, you don't have to be. And so, really? And you go back and forth and you fix it, and you're not. Whereas on Twitter and on social media and on platforms where you leave comments for strangers because offline you don't respect each other, enough to speak and communicate well, this is what is created. So here's what she said, and she's receiving near universal praise for her critique of Twitter, which she doesn't use. She says here, to me, Twitter is like trying to have a nice dinner with your friends in the middle of an insane asylum. It's like, right this way, there's a lovely dinner with all your friends. You just have to walk through an asylum for the criminally insane. Maybe everybody will be asleep and you'll be able to have interesting conversations with like-minded people, but you may also get poop thrown on you. So she says Twitter's like swimming through a sea of crazy people. And it's true, because people are encouraged to be crazy people on Twitter, to freak out more, to get attention, to talk about how messed up they are or whatever, and to groupthink to get the right tweets and likes and so on, on Twitter. So it's a very dangerous platform. And I'm old enough to remember, I might be dating myself, but I think I'm definitely worth it, at least a first date, I'm old enough to remember what the word twit means. And when I had my radio show back in the day, I used to make fun of Twitter. Because I used to say, oh, stupid twit. Ah, you bloody twit. A twit means a stupid person. And Twitter can make us all more stupid. Now, there is some value to these platforms in the modern world for a variety of reasons. Marketing, communication, connections, and so on. But ultimately, it's not just online. We've got to win the offline information war. And that's why locally discussing and sharing stuff we learn online and find online is key wherever we live. So she talks about how Twitter being a crazy place, you might meet some friends, but there's a bunch of crazy people possibly throwing poop. In her analysis, which I think is worse than mine, but I think I'm smarter than her when it comes to this sort of thing. And then she says here, The actress also admitted that Hillary Clinton not being elected the country's first female president was a huge loss, in quotes, but she's still politically active. And again, it was all about her being a female president as opposed to what her actual policies were. This is part of identity politics. It's not like you couldn't have a female president. Margaret Thatcher was a conservative British president known as the Iron Lady back in the 80s. And she did a pretty good job in many respects. Also, some things that a lot of people didn't like, in fairness to a characterization of her. But when it's all about who you are, then it creates a really weird place to be, especially on the left. And that's why people have trouble talking to each other, and especially have trouble talking to people they disagree with. Whereas people that aren't obsessed with identity politics can easily talk to people they disagree with and incredibly easily talk to each other. And that's what you should be aiming for. So it says here, last month, to end the article, the New York Times revealed Poehler and other left-wing Hollywood stars like Amy Schumer are being flat-out rejected by New York City waitresses over a pending minimum wage increase the workers believe will hurt more than help. So, yeah, and this is often what happens, where the left in Hollywood kind of promotes something because they're told to, because it looks good, and their PR team tells them to, not realizing how it'll screw normal people. Like all the people here, the Hollywood, they're told, you got to hate Trump. It's like, but Trump is making sure more Americans have jobs, less jobs leave the country, cutting taxes so more Americans make more money, at giving people a sense of national pride so they feel better about where they live and who they are and who, the other people where they live, and giving them an optimistic look at the future and a plan to get there. No, must bitch, must bitch, must bitch, even if it screws everybody. So under the guise of doing the right thing, they are taught to do the wrong thing. Many don't even know why, but they know this is what will get them favorable media coverage, which will help their career. And that's why they do it. Dennis Miller talked about recently with an interview with Ben Shapiro. He's a 60-year-old comedian now on the more conservative side. Talked about Jimmy Kimmel, Jimmy Fallon, and the other late-night talk show hosts. Who are more into clapter, not laughter. You're not laughing because they're being smart and funny and they kind of instinctively got you. You're clapping because they're saying the right politically correct thing. Clapter, clapping laughter, not actual laughter. Because you got me. I couldn't even help myself. It was so funny. And he's saying the reason they do that is because it's a good gig. It's a good job. When you're one of those late night talk show hosts making $10, $20 million a year, hosting a late night show, taking over for Johnny Carson or whoever, and this is what you have to do, then that's what you do. So it's not even like they really feel that way. That's what you have to do in Hollywood. And so normal people have to understand this. That's why videos like this I'm making, and protect themselves. So you can still like some of their work, and so on, some of their movies or TV shows, but when it comes to their public statements like this, you've got to understand where that's from. Otherwise, they will influence you to being a mess for yourself and other people to put up with, and influence other people into being a mess for you to put up with as part of this process of weakening people. And when it comes to this, minimum wage, it sounds good. We should raise the minimum wage. Well, we all want to make more money. It's a shame people who have to work minimum wage don't make more money. But what often happens? The employers, the restaurants or whoever, they cut jobs. They're like, well, we used to pay you $11 an hour. Now we got to pay you $13. We can't afford 8 of you, so we'll only keep 5 of you. So now 3 people lost their jobs, right? Or there's more under the table employment with illegal migrants who come in, and they say, well, the minimum wage was 11, now it's 13. Hey, this person here from Guatemala who's an undocumented migrant or illegal alien or whatever, they'll work for $6 an hour. Let's hire more of them, right? And more illegal immigration generally decreases wages because there's the same number of jobs, basically, and way more people looking for them. So they lower wages for just about everybody, except for the super rich people who own the businesses who get to pay everybody less. And that's why they push stuff like illegal immigration and massive immigration and open borders policies. So anyway, this is an example of Amy Poehler. Hard not to have a full-on panic attack every day over Trump, and Breitbart News with reporting on this, and then of course I analyze that as well, and on that Here's another article where after the Mueller report came out that cleared Trump of any Russian collusion, it's not like Russia's been in charge of America for the last couple of years. Russia hasn't exactly benefited from Trump's presidency over the last couple of years, and they're not happy about that. Here's another article: Hollywood digs in on Russia conspiracies. Fight for our democracy is about to intensify. This is again from Breitbart, and this is Hollywood director Rob Reiner talking about that. So again, this is to get people not to think about this and think about how stupid this is. This is by Justin Caruso from March 24th, 2019 for Breitbart. It says here, Hollywood figures double down on Trump-Russia conspiracy Sunday following Attorney General William Barr releasing a letter to Congress summarizing the Mueller report, which concludes President Donald Trump did not collude with the Kremlin. And then Hollywood freaks out over that, and a lot of the freaking out is on Twitter. So here's an example of more Hollywood bitching from Bette Midler, whose career has kind of waned, but stuff like this will get the attention of people and will be stuff that they can give her attention for because of the anti-Trump bias in the media, the sellout, globalist fake news media that's meant to screw us over, keep us in fear and confusion, and make us weak and divide and conquer us. It says here, Mueller report finds no evidence showing Trump's team of collusion with Russia, but stopped short of exonerating Trump on obstruction. Knowing Trump, he probably tried to do exactly that, probably. And then in block capital letters, 2 more years of chaos, race baiting, grifters, con artists, shame, fear, sad. That's not an explanation. That's a bitch, right? And I don't mean Bette Midler. I mean what she's saying is bitching, pure bitching. Now, it's 2 more years of chaos. Could you explain how the last 2 years were chaos? Race baiting. How the last 2 years were race baiting? No. Lowest black unemployment, Hispanic unemployment, women unemployment, general unemployment. When it comes to jobs, doesn't attack different groups, celebrates different groups. Grifters, people who are con men, con artists, shame, fear, sad. This is Twitter bitching by Bette Midler. More Hollywood bitching. So anyway, that's another example. Now, here's an example of how Hollywood eats their own when it comes down to this type of bitching, right? And people do this with each other, right? Once you're in this bitching mind state, once you've got to act like a bitch or a bitch's bitch, who makes more bitches, who make more bitches, who make more bitches, it's hard to get out of that, right? When it comes to doing that, when it comes to talking, or what comes to doing that when it comes to acting like a rude, lying, bitchy, sketchy, ugly old woman, or a pretend ugly old woman or wife or girlfriend. Yeah, touching my hair to talk. Yeah, play with my face. Yeah, you know how it is. Yeah, no, bitch. No, messed up, bitching about it. No, force you to see me look ugly. Oh, force you to see me look ugly. Oh, now we don't respect each other. What do you want to do? Well, can't do much with each other. Can't talk to each other much. What do you want to do? Oh, force strangers to see us look ugly. Anybody else? Want to force me to see me look ugly? Anybody else? Anybody else? That's what's happening. It's certainly happening in Toronto, Canada, and I've seen stuff on YouTube and elsewhere, and I've got lots of video of this. So once you're in that bitching mind state, verbally or when it comes to your body language, it's hard to get out of that with other people that know they're supposed to bitch, right? So if you try and challenge that and say, no, this is too far, or this is wrong, or this is something, then you get all the miserable bitches that are made by the media, that are either in the media or in Hollywood, or normal people turned into them by Hollywood and the media. They'll attack you. So here's another article from Breitbart News. It says here, Cher doubles down. This is the famous singer, actress Cher, doubles down. Excuse the fuck out of me if I don't want murderers, rapists, and child molesters to vote, from Breitbart.com. And it's by Justin Caruso from April 24th, 2019. And there's a shot of Cher. He chose a bit of a sympathetic picture of her, I believe. It says here, pop star Cher defended herself from attacks on social media Tuesday in a series of now deleted tweets after she was criticized for questioning Senator Bernie Sanders' plan to let felons and terrorists vote. Senator Bernie Sanders, socialist senator from Vermont, independent from Vermont, who is a potential presidential candidate, was a presidential candidate last election in 2016 before he deferred to Hillary Clinton to let her ultimately run in a one-on-one race against Trump that she lost. And Bernie was like, we need to let felons and terrorists vote, right? And so Cher comes out online on Twitter and tries to criticize this idea of letting convicted felons and terrorists, not people who finished their jail sentence and have served their time and maybe deserve the right to vote again once they're done, depending on how awful it is. That's an argument. We can discuss that. But people who are actually in jail, people who've killed people, who've molested kids, who've killed kids, that he's saying we should, Bernie Sanders was saying, let felons and terrorists vote. And this is Cher in block capital letters. Terrorists killed innocent people. I'm sick of being nailed to cross because you people think I'm racist. I'm not going to defend myself. I care for all people. Try to help all people, Cher said. Excuse the fuck out of me if I don't want murderers, rapists, and child molesters of every color to vote. This post comes in response to a social media user who criticized Cher for panning the idea of letting felons vote. So this is how she feels, right? This is how she tried to escape the, I'm not going to be a fucking bitchy zombie. I'm not going to be a bitchy zombie agreeing with every goddamn radical leftist, socialist, communist idea out there. This is too far. You can't let these people vote. She tried. Guess what happened? Lying bitches in Hollywood and making lying bitches out of normal people eat their own and force you to back down and bitch out again. That's what happens. And so President Bernie Sanders, this is an actual Bernie. This is a fan of Bernie Sanders' tweets. Why are you playing into this? Who cares about a few terrorists? We want to enfranchise those that have wrongly had their right to vote taken away. There are millions of them. There aren't many terrorists. Why would a rich white lady care about a disenfranchised POC or person of color, right? So again, identity politics could even be a goddamn robot or sock puppet online or a fake account meant to push an agenda as opposed to a real person. It happens a lot online. Google online sock puppet to see, especially Instagram, Twitter, whatever, talking with emojis, saying less about less to people, to strangers. You could be talking to robots half the time on these accounts. Google online sock puppet, or Google, use your preferred search engine, DuckDuckGo, startpage.com, more privacy if you prefer, and find articles about online sock puppets to see how the U.S. military, for sure, as articles in 2011 in mainstream publications revealed, among others, and big corporations and others, and activist groups and others, use artificial intelligence or robots or accounts, one account or 10 accounts controlled by one person with an agenda to act like they're normal people, right? But there she brings up the, hey, white lady, these are disenfranchised people of color. You don't care about them, right? So what they'll do is they'll take these minority groups and they'll bully everyone into going along with a horrible agenda. Or they could even hire minority groups that are liars and globalist sellouts and say, because they're black, you have to listen. Because they're trans, you have to listen. It's like, no, they're criminals. They're scum, right? Just because they're that doesn't mean they're good people. They could be good people, doesn't mean they're bad people, but doesn't mean they're good people. And yet, this is the sort of bullying, the bitchy bullying that goes on. So this President Bernie Sanders supporter, Ryan351867771, whose account says President Bernie Sanders by way of promotion, says, oh my God, who cares about a few terrorists? Don't disenfranchise people. There are people of color in jail, but you wouldn't care. Would you, white lady? You better back down. And so Cher first stands up for herself and says, Jesus Christ, terrorists killed innocent people. I'm sick of being nailed to cross because you people think I'm racist. I'm not going to defend myself. I care for all people. Blah, 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 blah. There's a screenshot of that going on. And in a Tuesday tweet, Cher questioned Bernie Sanders' statement that felons should be able to vote. Does Bernie Sanders really believe people in prison who are murderers, rapists, child molesters, Boston bombers, the one who Boston Marathon bomber, still deserve the right to vote, she said? So she's freaking out about this. This seems like a woman who cares, who's going, no, 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 I'm trying to act like a normal person in the sea of go along to bitch, to get along to bitch, whatever you say to bitch. I'm trying to act like this is crazy. And then another user told Cher, a disproportionate number of black and brown people end up in prison for petty or invented stuff put there by racist judges, racist cops. Our system isn't perfect. Let's allow them to vote and work on disassembling racism in our legal system. And so she says, do you people just choose the tweets you can twist? Excuse the fuck out of me if I don't feel white, black, brown, convicted child molesters, murderers, or rapists still in prison should keep the right to vote, she replied. So she's battling. She's battling the miserable, bitchy Twitter mobs. She's battling. Then Cher's original tweet and her two responses were all later deleted. Got blowback, got pushback. You can't be a reasonable person against the commie zombie mob, especially on Twitter. You can't be a reasonable person. During Bernie Sanders' town hall Monday, he reiterated his belief that felons need to be able to vote, even terrorists. I think the right to vote is inherent to our democracy. Yes, even for terrible people, because once you start chipping away, you say, that guy committed a terrible crime, we're not going to let him vote, or that person did that, you're running down a slippery slope, he said. So Breitbart talks about this, didn't editorialize much about this, just kind of put it out there as, hey, this is something worth thinking about. And this video is kind of breaking that down. But this is an example of what happens, right? And what Hollywood does and how Hollywood keeps people in line and how the Twitter mobs keep people in line and what they do to people. Because this happens online and this happens offline to people, where if you don't act like you're a messed up, miserable bitch, then some messed up, miserable bitch will bully you. Some miserable, bitchy bully, crybaby, lying, bitchy bully, cry bully will make you. And it's the same thing online, and it also happens offline. So that's why Hollywood celebrities bitching for success, professional lying bitches in the media making more bitches who make more bitches who make more bitches out of all of us, normal people who pay attention to the media. You got to resist that, because otherwise this type of crab bucket shit can happen offline too, right? If you're offline and you're like, no, I think this is wrong. No, shut up, stop, miserable bitch, put up with me. No, nobody can be nice or happy. Nobody can act like a normal human near me. Miserable, rude, lying, sketchy, bitchy, pretend, ugly old woman, wife, girlfriend, boyfriend, make you uncomfortable, bust your balls, scramble your eggs. That's what happens online and offline, right? And it's part of a bigger plan as opposed to something that people actually enjoy. Nobody likes it. Nobody's proud of it. People don't want to talk about it, don't want to do anything about it, don't like what's happening to them. That's why I've got manforwars.com to document all this and help if people are interested. Otherwise, I politely ignore it. Lying bitches beg to be broken, like me ignored, probably want to stop. And other people who realize I'm not into that stuff are really nice. As long as nobody's forcing anyone to put up with anyone or bitching at them for no reason, acting like a bitch or a bitch is bitch, you're trying to make someone you're a bitch because you're a bitch, then people are really nice. Polite Canadians are really nice, among others. And and that's why this is so dangerous. Finally, on this sort of Hollywood celebrity media entertainment bitching, I'll get to another article from Breitbart News. This is FS1's Marcellus Wiley. It says black community has cultural gatekeepers, right? And Marcellus Wiley's FS1 is Fox Sports 1. They're Fox, the Fox Television Network sports channel. They've got First Things First, which is a good sports show. They've got Speak for Yourself, which Marcellus Wiley's on. They've got Undisputed with Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp, former football player. They've got The Herd with Colin Cowherd, and they're a good sports show. They're less liberal than other sports shows, coming from Fox, but they're not expressly political. They don't get into a lot of conservative stuff either. But the general idea of confident, happy, ballsy, and eggsy men and women talking about sports, you can find on FS1. So I recommend you check out some of their sports shows for some of your sports entertainment content, because more confident, happy, ballsy, conservative, we know how to be good at being men and women with self-respect who respect each other people are generally better for you across the board when it comes to politics or entertainment or just being humans than people who feel they have to bitch, feel they have to be messed up like the liberal establishment is encouraging. And so FS1's Marcellus Wiley says black community has cultural gatekeepers. By Daniel Leberfeld, April 24th, 2019, also from Breitbart News. There's Marcellus. There's the author. It says here, on FS1 Speak for Yourself, co-hosts Jason Whitlock and Marcellus Wiley lamented how they're sometimes looked down upon because they don't fit certain supposed black stereotypes. And so these are guys. These are guys who are not expressly conservative. They don't want to be, get a lot of crap for it. But they're just naturally confident, cool guys who don't want to act like stereotypes, and they get shit for it, right? So on FS1 Speak for Yourself, co-hosts Jason Whitlock and Marcellus Wiley lamented how they're sometimes looked down upon because they don't fit certain supposed black stereotypes. Show producer Darnell Smith, who is also black and grew up in Whitlock's neighborhood, threw out a question to the host to start the segment. How do you guys deal with it when people say you don't meet the black stereotype? Smith asked, the show's producer. Wiley, a Columbia University graduate who played 10 years in the NFL, said the black community has cultural, quote, gatekeepers. And this is Breitbart News reporting on this stuff. Again, politics downstream from culture gives you a good balance to digest both. And these are great articles to help understand kind of what's going on and where you live better than most media gets you. That's why they do so well, despite getting a lot of blowback. So it says here, our culture has gatekeepers, man, Wiley said. Black expression is limited by those gatekeepers. Quote, you can't do this, you can't do this, that you can't do this, you can't do this, oh, that ain't black enough. We know how it goes. I've lived that my whole life, bro. So that's what Marcellus Wiley, Columbia University graduate, played in the NFL for 10 years. This is how he feels about the black liberal establishment in Hollywood. So it's not just, oh, you're not a person of color, don't say this, don't say that. It's like, well, black people know there's some bad black people of color who are cultural gatekeepers who try and keep everybody else down on the reservation, on the farm, right? So back to this article, Wiley grew up in Compton, California, and sometimes felt he got looked down upon due to his focus on academics. Quote, you add on top of being a black male that I was educated and prioritized academics, then I was a nerd on top of that, said Wiley, who was valedictorian of his high school class. Then I'm from Compton and the hood, and you ain't gangsta enough, so I've been hearing this my whole life. So there you go. He tries to be a smart guy, and he's crapped on for being a nerd. And then he's from Compton, and he's crapped on for not being a gangster. And he's just, look, I'm an individual black guy. Why do I have to be part of this herd? Why can't you just respect me as an individual who can still be smart, like a nerd, still be a bit street, because I'm from Compton, I know how to get around. Why do I have to get shit on for this? Again, this is more bitchin', making more bitches who make more bitches inside and outside minority communities as part of a larger, great globalist bitch out plan to make us all sick of each other and unable to communicate well and do anything. That's why I said, you pay attention to this stuff, you'll fail with your family, friends, and strangers, because this is how it's done. So back to this article. But his deeply religious grandmother helped him fight through the challenges of being stereotyped. Quote, my grandma told me one scripture that crystallizes it all for me. The gates to heaven are narrow and few come between. When she told me that, most people have you wrong. Most people are going to be doing it wrong, so make sure you are on that little narrow path, brother, and keep on trucking. While he said, only a few people get to heaven, so make sure you stay on the good path and do the right thing. Whitlock, this is Jason Whitlock, his co-host on Speak for Yourself, a longtime sports writer before getting into television, had similar experiences to Wiley growing up in Indiana. He says, seriously, growing up, I remember going to public school 83 in Indianapolis, Whitlock recalls. I got good grades there. Oh man, you trying to act white. Come on, we hear that all the time. So this is what's encouraged. Now you might think, well, who would want that? Who would want people to say that? This is part of a broader plan. There's language introduced to make us weaker. There's language introduced to corrupt us. Even back in the days of Michael Jackson going, I'm bad, you know it, bad meaning good. and I like that. I like that song, whatever. And I get the idea, oh, he's a bad man. He's a bad man. You get used to saying it. But ultimately, they're saying bad means good. How Orwellian is that? And there's a bunch of language out there that's planned by people way smarter than us to say, you know what, we'll get them saying that, and then look at the mess they'll be in 10 years. Right? That's how these things are done. So, and then at Ball State, Whitlock continued to hear the same sort of comments. Going to college, oh, you speak proper English. You don't butcher the language and speak in Ebonics all the time. Oh, you're trying to sound white. No, I'm trying to sound like I want to get a job and take care of me and my family, Whitlock said. Wiley feels those who violate the, quote, gatekeepers often pay a price. Quote, we actually make examples of those who violate, Wiley said. It's a little bit of public spanking that we do a lot of times in our own culture. So that is another example of Hollywood celebrities bitching for success, people who are trying to fight against that. What happens? You can see the whole thing playing out here, from Amy Poehler promoting her over a dozen movie projects and getting that type of promotion because she talks about bitching about Trump, talks about how bad she and her friends feel. They all text each other, every day we feel bad, every day we feel bad. Are you talking about what's going on in any sort of serious way and coming up with a plan and things that you can do and things you can recommend to your fans? Nope. Just talking about bitching, talking about how miserable I am, messed up I am as a grown-ass, successful Hollywood woman. It's like bullshit. That's part of a PR plan to promote your shit, right? And then, of course, doubling down on the Russia-Trump obstruction, collusion, conspiracies from the Hollywood people who, base their whatever on that. Also, more bitching. Not more, okay, calm down. We all get to relax. The President of America is not controlled by the President of Russia. That's good news. No, it's not. More bitching, more bitching. What? More bitching? Shit, more bitching. Fine, more bitching, right? And then Cher trying to fight against this. I don't believe people in prison for serious crime should be able to vote. Then they beat her down. No, get back to bitching. Do whatever the socialist communist Bernie Sanders said. And then the black community says, no, it's not, it's not even like, oh yes, all black people want this. It's like, no, the black community keeps themselves down in the same way with cultural gatekeepers. So there you have it. This is crucially important because when it comes to all the media that you and other people consume, this is a huge trend right now, a huge topic right now. And beyond just sort of being, well, whatever, people do say whatever, they're just whatever, it affects everybody. If you're acting like a bitch or a bitch's bitch who makes more bitches, who make more bitches, who make more bitches, when it comes to what you say, or you get so sick of talking like that and hearing it, when it comes to how you act, sheepish, sideways, gender neutral, lying, bitchy, sketchy, zombie type shit, making more who make more, can't do anything else. If anybody else is not acting like that, you got to make them put up with you and make them put up with and act like that. If that's what's going on, this is partly how it's done. And there you have it. So, BK Black Krishna for manfulwars.com. I do hope this helps. Now you can comment, subscribe, get in touch with any questions or answers. Financially support, there are donation links below. Check out the manfulwars.com website for a more detailed explanation of some of these things and what to do about it, how we got here, and how we can get someplace better. Otherwise, I hope this helps, and I'll talk to you soon. Cheers.